So I hope I'm audible to everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You're very nicely audible.
Sure. I'm making myself visible also now. So hopefully, yeah. So first, let me start with the helping professional. I call myself a helping professional because I'm a coach, counselor, and facilitator, which are all helping professions. So that's why I call myself a helping professional. To answer your question, Badri. So today I'm going to be talking about mental health and specifically resilience because and relationships and resilience, because one of the challenges is also, you know, how we can keep ourselves afloat and bounce back whenever there is you know, we go through crisis. And this is a global crisis, there's no doubt about it. And we are all experiencing what is known as, it's a grief, but it's a collective grief. So I'll explain what I mean by that, because it's happening globally. It's a crisis that every person, for the first time in a long time, people are experiencing this kind of a sense of loss, because whatever we had built around our so-called normal life is now under attack. Like even just stepping out of the house is becoming difficult. So it is a crisis, and it is something we are grieving at the loss of, like the life that we had, which seems like so much better. So we are looking forward to getting back to that normal life. So, and we are forgetting that we have, if I ask each one of you here, have you been through any loss or any kind of, you know, personal crisis in your life? I'm sure each one of us would have had some kind of a life-changing experience, which is not so positive, and all of us have bided through that. But we tend to kind of forget that, and when a new disaster strikes, we kind of think that we won't be able to manage. So the first thing is, you know, so whenever there is grief or whenever there is a sense of loss, we all tend to have these phases of grief that you have seen playing out when you see the news. There is denial because people initially did not heed to the instructions of the government, where they said that this, you have to isolate yourself, social isolation. People did not listen. People just went out. They said, no, this doesn't apply to me. I drink haldi, I carry neem with me, so I can do this, I can. So they were in that kind of a mood. Then there was anger. There were people who, we saw videos of people beating each other up and, you know, beating the policemen and trying to, there was some people who went to a hospital and beat up the doctors because they had admitted one of the patients you know, for COVID-19. And so then there is bargaining. Can I just do this? Maybe I can do that. So that's another phase. And then you start, when reality hits you, then you start getting really sad. And then later on, you, after some time now, when the second phase of lockdown has started, you see a lot more people realizing this is for real. You know, so these things happen when we are not in touch with ourselves and we are trying to fight or trying to deny what is going on. And that makes it really difficult for us to become resilient and accept what is happening. So once you get over this and you accept that life is not always a bed of roses, that there is, you know, whenever we seem to forget the fact that there are tough times that will come. It is part of life. Tough times are part of life. We've gone through many. People have gone through the Great Depression. People have gone through wars. People have gone through so many collective crises that, and we have bounced back. So we have the ability to do that. So my thing is, this depends on how your relationship with yourself plays a huge part in this, because the story you tell yourself, how you perceive yourself, I'm capable, I'm not capable, that plays a huge part in how much you accept the situation and say, I can, manage this situation. If you feel that, oh, I am this way or I am that way, I can't do this, I can't do housework, I can't cook, I can't be, isolated from people, I can't be alone. These are the things which people say to themselves, and that makes it more hard. There is nothing like you can't or I am, because by saying that, you're giving yourself permission to remain that way. So change becomes very difficult. Yeah. So the first step is to accept that, that life there will be tough situations in life, and every human existence, there will be tough times, and we can get over it. So that would be the first step in building resilience. The second thing is what you focus on and having a sense of gratitude. That is, people who are resilient focus they choose where to focus on and what to pay attention to. So imagine you have gone on a holiday and you are living on a beach, house, and then it is probably, there is rain and there's storm. It's a beautiful place. You focus, if the whole time you are on that holiday, if you're focusing on the high tides and what if we get flooded and what if the tide hits us and we get pulled into the sea, you'll never be able to enjoy that. I'm not saying that don't be alert to the possibility. There is a possibility, yes, there is always a possibility of something like that happening, but what is the likelihood of that happening? So focusing on the positive, it is important. Instead, if you focus on the experience of being in a beach house and the sea and the beauty of going for a walk on the beach, if it is not high tide, and enjoying that is so much better, because what we are tuned to, or our body is tuned to, is a protective response, also known as the stress response or the fight or flight response, is active. The moment we perceive something as danger, our stress response is kicked in. So the sympathetic nervous system kicks, the autonomic nervous system, triggers the sympathetic nervous system, where you start preparing for a disaster. That's the body's way of preparing for a disaster. But there is also the parasympathetic nervous system, which is known as the calm and digest response, where you consciously make an effort to calm this down so that your hormones come back to normal. You hit a state of homeostasis where you calm yourself down. That is when your thinking part of the brain is activated. Otherwise, it is the medieval brain or the midbrain, reptilian brain, which is a protective, which is the main function of that is to protect the body. So the fear response is triggered, and so all the palpitations and your digestive system going for a toss, or you're having muscle tensions or skin rashes, whole lot of things happen. There is an explanation for that. So your thinking part of the brain is shut off when that reaction is happening. So when you do things like breathing or play a sport, or when you do yoga or go for a walk, other hormones are are released, like endorphins, which calm this reaction. So then you kind of start, your ability to reason with the situation, your ability to think becomes better. And so you can then, in this situation, the present situation, if you calm yourself down and look at the reality for what it is, then you will see that you are a lot more resourceful with whatever you have. For instance, you can get very creative with whatever ingredients you have to cook. You can get creative, clean up your house. You can, think of different ways of spending time. You can think of all the things that you have ever wanted to do, like spend time with your family or pursue a hobby, listen to music, watch some videos or movies that you've always wanted to watch, read the books that you wanted to do the paintings that you wanted to do. So there are a lot of things which you keep complaining about that you don't have time. You have the time for it now. Learn new courses, go online and learn new things that you've always wanted to do. And again, the focus, instead of saying, I don't have this, so I can't do that, I don't have that, with whatever you have, I'm sure you can come up with something. You can become more creative and resourceful if you give your brain the permission by calming yourself down. So that, and another part is also the gratitude part. Because when you get up in the morning, if you can think of 3 things that you can be grateful for today, it could be everything from, thank God I do not have any health problems and I'm able to get up and carry on with my everyday life. That's a good thing. Thank God I have the job. Thank God I can afford to buy my food and eat. These are little things. Today you've realized that we've gone back to, if you know Maslow's hierarchy, this is a reset button for humanity. For the first time, we are realizing that we have gone back to the very basic needs. Forget self-esteem and self-actualization. We've gone back to food, clothing, and shelter. Basic and safety needs. We've gone to that. And we are realizing the value of that. We kind of discounted what we had in these basic need areas, and now we are realizing we are so thankful that we have these 3 things. We are living in a safe house, we have food to eat, we have clothes, we have a roof over our head. So these are becoming a challenge. So probably this is a way of forcing us to be grateful for what we have instead of just thinking about what we don't have. So, and if you look at the TV every day, you see so many people are struggling for these basic needs. So that is the second aspect of resilience. Resilient people know how, and it's also known as benefit finding in psychology. That is, being grateful is benefit finding, seeing what you have and what you should be grateful for. The third aspect is, there are people, we hear so many, because I do counseling, I get all these people who are resorting to alcohol, to smoking more, substance abuse, or overeating, or indulgent behavior, excessive indulgent behavior. So asking yourself, how is this going to help me? Is it what I'm doing going to help me, or is it going to harm me? It's a simple question. When you ask yourself that, you will suddenly realize that I do not need to do half the things, because human beings are capable of imagination. That's a gift that we have from nature. So we are capable of imagining of the consequences. So being able to imagine and stop yourself by asking a simple question, do I need this extra food? Do I need to eat more? Do I need to drink this? Do I need to smoke this? how is it going to impact my life after this crisis is over? So when you ask yourself that question, it stops you from harming yourself, self-harm, or it could be, I'm hearing a lot of um, families where there's a lot of domestic abuse. Now, how is beating up somebody else or emotionally abusing somebody else going to help you feel better in a situation like this? Or going and buying a lot of things which you don't need, how is that going to help you in a time like this? So asking yourself these kind of questions is going to help you to stop doing what is harmful to you. So these three things, one is accepting that life is not hunky-dory all the time, and there are going to be challenges, and with that we are capable of handling the challenges. Second is focusing on the positives and having gratitude. And the third one is looking at the impact that your behavior is going to have after this phase is over. This too shall pass, and after you come out on the other side, how is it going to impact you? These three are going to help you to build resilience. So now I also said I'm going to talk about relationships. Now, what is happening is in this, there are 2-3 challenges. One is between the husband and wife. So which is, even if you love the person, when you're spending all the time, see, most couples are working couples. So when they are together in a house 24/7, everything is not going to be easy, because sometimes you wonder whether you may love the person, but do you like the person? Because you have to spend all the time with that person. So some of the things might be irritating, whatever. So being sensitive to each other and having clear boundaries, and not taking each other for granted, these things are going to help. Even with the children, all the family members, having clear boundaries is really going to help. Boundaries is setting, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do, this is what I expect you to do, this is how I expect you to help me. So these are some of the boundaries that you need to set. And also the work, chores, everyday chores. You need to help in setting the structure and having some kind of an understanding who's going to do what, because expecting one person or the same person to do every day everything is going to become challenging. And the other thing is parenting. And parenting, there are two aspects. One is between the parents and the children, and when there are more than 2 generations under the same roof. So there what happens is the intergenerational dynamics that goes on can become a challenge in itself. For instance, grandchildren, especially if they are teenagers, they live a certain way, they talk a certain way, and you have brought in your parents or your in-laws, whatever, to stay with you, and the clashes that happen, or between your spouse and the parents. So these are the challenges that are also challenging at this time when everybody is stuck in the same place. And it could also be the physical space, lack of physical space. Not everybody lives in big houses with large families. So it can be a large family with a smaller space to live. So that becomes a challenge. So having a structure, having discipline, having boundaries really help in relationships. Making it very clear, no offense to anybody, it does not have to be with anger, but just gently sitting and saying, hey, we need to spend the next 2 weeks like this. So what are some of the ways in which we can make it a pleasant time? And have time, even if you want to have conversations, and you want your own space also, you can just say between this time to this time, like for instance, today from 5 to 6, I have these calls. So can I just have this room? And can you not disturb me? As soon as this call is over, I can come and have a conversation with you. So people would like to know what to expect in relationships. So having these frank conversations will really help. And as far as parenting is concerned, um, the children like it if again they have a structure where they know that you as a parent are going to spend this time with them. It could be even 20 minutes a day. It doesn't matter, because everybody is working. Though we are not physically going to an office, we are more busy these days than we were when we were going away. At least we had the time when we drove where we could call. And but now even that is gone. So working from home has become longer hours and more work. But making that time, the quality time, and saying, I'm going to finish at this time, I'm going to take this break from this time to this time and spend 20 minutes a day, 40 minutes a day, whatever works. And at that time, talk about fun things. It could be like talking about hobbies, if it is a teenager, or what the person is interested, sports, whatever. And each phase of parenting is very different. So if it is a teenager, it's good to talk about interests and hobbies, and generally what their life is like. And if it is a child, ask the child what they would like to do, because by asking the child and giving the child the opportunity to come up with something will also increase the child's confidence. Hey, my what I think or my opinion matters, my choice matters in this household. The child feels good, so, and becomes more confidence. And see if you can make the chores, if you can involve the children in doing the chores, like folding the bed sheets or washing the dishes or something, and make it a fun time. Maybe you can put on some music in the kitchen and make them help you, but make it fun and include them in the chores. Maybe folding the clothes, whatever, putting the clothes in the washing machine, whatever it is. Just make it and say, come, let's do this, and do it with them. Because it is important for them also to learn, because many times as parents we make the mistake of not including them in all these everyday tasks. Because if you look at it, at a time like this, we've all realized that everything from mopping, sweeping, washing vessels, washing clothes, cooking, everything are life skills. And the main purpose of parenting, or the main focus of parenting, needs to be on empowering your kids. And if you do not empower your kids with these basic life skills, it's not, by pampering them and indulging them, we are not doing them a favor, we are doing them actually a disservice. So including them and making it fun, they will also learn, and it is a survival thing. At times like this, we have realized that many things which you didn't have to do, you need to do in order to keep us going. And the other thing is, when you're giving a feedback, supposing the child's room is a mess, best thing is to say, can you please put this clothes away? Come,
Can
let's
others
put the
hear
clothes
Lakshmi?
away, rather than
Uh-huh.
saying what a mess you've created. So the more positively you phrase, does not rebel. The more positive you. Hello.
Hi,
We are
Lakshmi.
not getting your audio clearly. Maybe you can switch off the video and only use the mic. That
Yeah,
may
sure.
reduce the bandwidth requirement.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. I will. I'm not finding the video. I'll just see if
Move
yeah,
your
I got
cursor
it.
on the screen. Ouch.
And ma'am, we lost your voice from the, the appreciating the shows and all. From there, you have to begin.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure. So the next one was keep things positive with the kids, because the more negatively you speak, like for instance, if it is, if you see a messy room and or a messy cupboard, you say, put away your clothes. Can you please put away your clothes? Or come, let's put away your clothes, rather than saying, what a mess you have created. Your room is always a mess. Because the children are rebellious by nature. So if you talk to them in a negative way or in a harsh way, they are going to rebel. Instead, if you make it like, you're just saying, come, let's do this, and not complaining, then they'll automatically come and do it. Maybe it'll take a few trials, but that's a better way of involving them in cleaning up their own room. Initially, you might have to say, come, let's do it. And then, say that, can you please put that away? I'm going to put mine away too, because again, children, parents need to lead by example. So if you ask them to clean up their cupboard and then they see yours being messy, they're going to come and question that. So, and if it is a teenager, teenagers love to be connected. Okay, they also now have these house parties and all that on the net, which they are doing now because they can't meet their friends. So encourage them to do that, but instead of saying, like if they're overdoing it, instead of saying you're always talking to your friends, you say, hey, why don't you keep this time, like 1 hour or so to spend with your friends, and I will help you set this up or whatever. And give them permission, but again, with boundaries. Here you are giving them permission, but that's known as permission with protection, where you're protecting them from overindulging and overdoing something. But at the same time, you're giving them permission and with a clear boundary from this time to this time. You can have morning 1 hour, evening 1 hour, whatever with your friends. But the rest of the time, you are expected to do these things. So, and if you're on a call, you can say, if the kids are playing music very loudly, you just say that, hey, I'm on a call, could you keep it quiet? So, after this, I'll let you know, then you can increase the volume if you want. So giving them clear what to do and what are your expectations, making it very clear, not using sarcasm or negative, and phrasing it negatively is going to help. And they'll also learn to respect others and to be more positive when they are talking. The other thing, like I said, is having a structure. And know that you're the role model. So when you have a structure, you should be the first person to be using that structure. So create something that may be flexible, but is consistent daily routine. And it could be, and then teach them things which are simple, like simple things like joy of reading, joy of letter writing, to keep them connected. You can explain to them that, many of us did not have phones, even phones at home. And so letter writing was the way forward, and otherwise, and creating cards. We didn't go, there was no Archies or any of those to go pick up the card. So we made the cards and sent it. So teaching them the joy of doing these things. For all you know, they might start enjoying. And and also teach them the art of gratitude, because it's important. End of the day, if you can just sit and say, hey, we survived so many days of social distancing, and what are some of the things you learned about yourself? Today, what did you learn about yourself? How did you manage today? Bringing the focus on that will make them realize they have it within them to survive all these things and to do all these tasks. So it doesn't come naturally. So it's important for us to bring the focus on that and praise them for that. You did so well today. You were able to do this. So, let's see what new things you're going to come up with tomorrow, because all of us are doing our best at this time. And it's important to also talk about yourself so that the child learns to accept. Self-acceptance is very important for resilience and to be strong and positive. So you do that to yourself also and praise the child for doing that also, whatever it is that the child has done. And whenever there is a bad behavior, children will default, children will get back to some negative behavior because they have too much pent up energy, especially if you have young kids. Teenagers will rebel in different ways. Young kids will rebel in different ways. First thing is you be calm. Take a few deep breaths, walk away from that room, distract yourself before you go and address the child's behavior. Because it's very easy for you to say or do things which you'll regret later. So keeping yourself calm is very important. And also to learn whenever you're correcting a behavior, try to teach them the consequence of that behavior. And whenever there is a good behavior, the kind of positive reinforcement would be to actually praise them for that. And whenever there is a negative behavior, address the behavior and not the person. That is just show them that you value the child and you love the child, but it is this particular behavior that is not acceptable, and why it is not acceptable. What are the consequences of that behavior? So the child's self-esteem will remain intact, because many times inadvertently what happens is when we are scolding, we say you are such a whatever it is, some negative word, and that sticks to the child for a lifetime. It's important not to label. So not labeling would be addressing only the behavior. You are so good at so many things, but this one behavior you need to change is so much better than writing off the whole person. That is, in transaction analysis, we call it unconditional negative. So when you label, for instance, many times in schools and people say you're a duffer, you're lazy, you're calling the whole person lazy and discounting all the positive things about the person and unconditionally labeling the person as lazy or idiot or duffer or whatever. So that is very harmful. So being aware of that. And then the last aspect is this COVID-19. The kids, many of them, especially the younger kids, are just wondering what is this all about? And they'll ask you questions because of social media and because of the internet and because of TV and all that. We are bombarded with information. And youngsters, even if they are teenagers, even if they're adolescents, they are not so mature to be able to filter out the wrong information or the fake news and take in only the good, only what is real. And that is scary. When you look at the internet, when you look at the TV, it is like, you feel the world is coming to an end. That is how some of them, just the way the anchors also talk, it is like it's the end of the world and breaking news, and it's a very scary thing. They don't know what is happening, first of all, being isolated from everybody and having to stay at home 24/7. So think about it, when you empathize with a young child, whatever the age, so give them the right information. It's not only about this, even without the crisis. If the child is curious to ask you a question, even the most difficult topics, It is good for us to give the correct information, because in today's time, we have no control over the amount of access children have to information. They'll go get it from somewhere else, and that could be completely distorted. That could be very wrong information. And you don't want your child to have the wrong information coming from a wrong source. You are the best person to give the right information, irrespective of what the topic is. The most awkward topic, the most difficult topic, it's better that the child gets it from you. And that's the right information. It is very challenging. In today's time, parenting is very challenging. And so, again, I'm repeating this. First, calm yourself down, because that is going to solve 50% of the problem in parenting. The other 50% is doing all the other things that I spoke about. Whether it is, I'll just go through the list once again so that, I spoke about spending one-on-one time. And the second one was keeping whatever you say positive. The third one was having a structure and a discipline and boundaries. And the fourth one was addressing bad behavior, where you first calm down, and the way you phrase it and the way you address it, that is keeping, showing that you value and love the child, but sticking to just the behavior, addressing the behavior, and keeping yourself calm and managing your stress is very important. And when it comes to any crisis or any negative topic, talking about it, whether it's COVID-19, be open to listen, be honest, be supportive. And if you don't know, it can say, it's okay for you to say, I don't know. You don't have to make up something and tell the child. And so explain. Also, another big thing in today's time is also sometimes in the news, we are hearing so many things about negative things about some countries or some group of people. And when you're giving news like that, they've seen something, they come and ask you a question. Talk about the positive aspects, because otherwise the child will be biased from a very young age about a group of people or about a race or about a country. And we don't want that to happen, because they have to go out and live with, everybody, and it needs to be a more inclusive environment for the child. So it's important for us to be aware of that. And so these are the 6 parenting tips. So that's it from me. And any questions? I'm opening the chat.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
There is always yeah.
That was a great session. I can see all the comments here, and many people are very, very happy for the inputs you've given us. Thank you so much. Also,
great.
I noticed you have such a soothing voice. Even if I didn't listen to you, I already was feeling a little better. So.
Oh, I think it's my profession. Thank you. Yeah.
We'll normally we take questions at the end of 2 sessions, but I think the flow is so good that I'll break protocol and take questions. I know we'll run over time a little bit. Apologies, all of you, and apologies to the next couple of speakers. We'll take questions for 10 minutes. One question that I have is from Vidya. Vidya, you want to go and ask your question about mental strength?
Sure.
Yeah, actually, I had put down 3 comments. So, do I get to take all 3, or should I only ask that one?
You start off with one. Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, I think to start with the mental strength and balance.
Huh.
It's just that, whatever you have said in this entire session,
Huh.
everything is very logical. Everything sounds very,
Hmm.
practical, easy, doable, which all of us know that it's not, because it's not just one person, but you're dealing with your, what do you call, the environment around you, right? There is an
Yeah.
ecosystem around you.
Yeah.
While it sounds simple and very logical, is it
Mhm.
the fact that one is born with those kind of attributes, or is it something that you develop based on the various situations and circumstances that you go through? So how
Sure.
would you? Because simple things, some people may find it very easy to accept and do, whereas for some it would be, it would take such a long time to just understand, grasp, or even reach that stage wherein you say, okay, from now on, I can do something more.
Yeah. Thank you. That's an excellent
Yeah.
question, Vidya. So, see, first and foremost, we need to understand that we are all emotional beings. Okay, emotions rule our lives, but you have to understand that other people's lives are also ruled by emotions. Okay, so when you're talking about it is easy, we all have it within us to regulate our emotions and to respond in a more appropriate way rather than in a reactive way. There's a difference between reaction and response. So, reaction is loaded with emotion where you react immediately and it is instant, whereas response is a well thought out way of, that is the function of a different part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, which is the thinking part of the brain, where reaction comes from your reptilian brain that I spoke about. And it's the easiest thing. Like I told you, anybody who comes, when you sense an attack, then immediately you react. It's a reflex. Okay. But if you calm yourself down, and so that's why even in parenting, I said you calm yourself down, you are capable of doing it. It is just that one is calming yourself down, another one is understanding or empathizing. Empathizing is when you let yourself take a back seat and focus on the other person. If somebody is behaving strange, figuring out what is making them behave like that. What emotion are they going through that they are behaving like that? Either they are scared or they are sad or they're feeling helpless or something is going on which is making them that way. So the more you start focusing on that by removing your own, like typically people say that empathy is when you remove, putting yourself in the other person's shoe. But the most important thing is you have to remove your shoes before you get into the other person's shoe. Otherwise, it won't fit in. Okay, so that is going to help you to a large extent. That may not be possible for you all the time, but the more you practice, the easier it becomes because you're detaching yourself from that situation and focusing on the other person. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it's just that whether it is something which you acquire, or whether there is some, I think you did mention that we all have it. It's
Yeah.
just that, yeah, right? Okay. So, yeah, I think I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
practice it. It doesn't come
Mm-hmm.
easily, but you
Mm,
need to practice it. Yeah.
right. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Welcome. Yeah.
Anybody else with questions? Otherwise, we'll come back to Vidya. She seems to have lined up 3 questions. Looks like you've been working with your kids on their school exams too much, Vidya.
No. It is just that, this lockdown has created quite a bit of, now since I am a part of a large community, there is obvious, I mean, one is the Bangalore Apartment Federation, where we are connected through our community, and we keep hearing various, issues. And also in my own community, which has 2,000 people, you find people being short-tempered, not being allowed to
Yeah.
walk. They get
Mm.
irritated with the smallest of things, and in this situation there are a host of things which happen during crisis. You sort of come to know
Yeah.
various colors of various different people, right? So
Yeah.
from that perspective, the other couple of questions also, in terms
Yeah.
of acceptance and in terms of expectations, right? So one, just accepting the fact that yes, let's take this lockdown situation and that there is an advisory, and so let me follow that advisory. Now that is, you accept and you say that, oh, this is what it is. You rationalize it. There is enough things to rationalize. There is enough help available. But if you find that you may not be able to reach out to many people who may not understand that, and also while few are very quick to accept it, there are a multitude of people who are not able to accept it, and then that creates a sort of who are you to say, and why should I do, and those kind of situations, right? So that is one. So they have not accepted that that is the situation and it's a grave situation, and so it is creating issues not only with themselves but the community as well. So that is one. And the second is any relationships. I mean, be it husband wife, be it parent child, or between your friends or between your colleagues. All this we talk about expectations. I mean, philosophically we say that expectations, it should be, you should not expect from one another, kind of, right? I mean, expectations is the downfall of many relationships, kind of. So but obviously we are in these relationships and there is obviously some interdependency, and so there are expectations. So is it something which is defined as what is the basic minimum expectations one can have of each other in each of those relationships? Yeah, so those were my two.
Sure. Let me take it one at a time. One is your acceptance, accepting question. Now, I'll ask you a question back. What choice do you have in this situation if you're not going to accept this?
Yeah, I mean, there is no choice right now. This is it.
Absolutely. There are no options. So, and many times in life, you will realize that there are no options. So it's important for us to realize while accepting this, I'm glad you asked this question, is asking yourself, what is in my control, what is not in my control? So what is not in your control is a non-negotiable. Like, if we are in a lockdown, we can't get out of the gate. That's what it is. It's happening to the whole world and we are part of it. We have to manage it, right? And so what is in our control is how we respond to that situation, right? And so whatever, that is when I spoke about your resourcefulness, your creativity in the best way that you can with what you have, being grateful for what you have, how you are going to use that to manage. You may not be very happy doing it, but you're using what you have within your control, all within your, whatever is there, and making the best of it. Or you can't be miserable for 40 days or whatever the number of days that we are going to be inside. Choosing not to be miserable is in your hands. How you make it interesting is in your hands. What is not in your hands or not in your control is the situation. Just imagine if you went, and also the consequence of breaking this. If we go out and, just today I heard that in one of the hospitals, the doctor got infected. They had to close down the hospital. So this is not something that's made up. This is real. And so we have to manage it. We have no options.
Actually, my question came also while some of us are able to manage it. What do you do? How do you handle a situation where the others are not able to manage it and they are miserable, and you find that you cannot, I mean, you may empathize with them, but you feel helpless that you cannot,
that's where we need to empower other people. So even in counseling, everybody who calls is miserable. They are distressed. They call because they are feeling they're really sad to the point of being suicidal. They're so angry. They want to break things at home. Those are the kind, but that is where they are unable to reason with themselves. So while validating the situation, what they are feeling, and that it is, you can understand what they're going through, you can understand how it must be, that must be really hard. But making them realize that, do you have any other options? So what is the best way that you can manage this situation? You know that this is not going to be forever. It could be for the next 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, but one day this has to end. So till then, what is the best way you can use what you have to make the best of this situation? Helping them through that is what you can do best. Because we can't take responsibility for another person's life beyond a point, but you can help them realize what they have. Many times, people do not even realize what they have because they haven't looked at it. They're just so focused on what they don't have and what has been taken away. And they're grieving the loss of what has been taken away from them.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. And expectations.
Thank you,
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you,
So you're
Lakshmi.
okay with that? Yeah, welcome.
Thank you very much on behalf of all of us here. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on to the next set of speakers. We have two BNPians who are going to share a little bit about how they've been working in their own way, helping society during these Corona times.
Okay.
Their focus is going to be unique in the sense, while they are doing the immediate help in terms of providing food and groceries, etc., they're also trying to keep a larger perspective. To share that with us, we have Anjani, who's in the Dodane Kundi area, a very active BNPian, and Tahira from the Hebbal area. Anjani, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Badri. So I'm going to share that what I'm doing here. I hope that I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, Anjani, we can hear you nice.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sure that everyone is doing their part of this social responsibility during this time, difficult time, in fact. And in fact, it needs a lot of participation from everybody to help this underprivileged community of migrant laborers like cooks or our society helper, community helpers. So even the cooks and maids and other community helpers, right, to wash our cars and other things nowadays in couple of community or most of the community, they are not allowed to enter there. And some of has lost also their payment also, though couple of our meaning communities like we are still, even they are not working, we are trying to help them out that there is no pay cut for them. But there are many cases where it is happening and they need a lot of help from all of us. So what so initial when lockdown this started, so me and couple of my friends, we just shared few messages in a couple of groups, community and WhatsApp groups, and that got circulated like in case the message was like, in case you need any kind of help, please contact these numbers. So over a period of time, in I think probably 3-4 days time of the lockdown initial, we started getting a lot of calls. So as a group, we started collecting some amount and then trying to help. But it in fact, within first week, we all got exhausted and we thought, okay, this is something that is not going to scale out and need to figure it out some better option for that. So what we try to figure it out, all the government meaning options that there are a couple of meaning BBMP has few helplines. They have numbers that they say that you call them and they will provide the food, the packets, ration kits, etc. And then we try to connect these calls, queries, whatever people started to asking for us. It didn't work smoothly initially, but then we tried to find out some other way, like putting into the Twitter or putting into the groups directly those messages, and then so a lot of people started. So we said, okay, let's everybody call to these guys and say that this particular person or this community is struggling for their rations or food. Then for one example is like Mahadevpura DC, we called a couple of times, and then eventually once he said that there is a lot of calls coming from Dotanikundi and Tubrahalli area, he provided the ration kits, and then many people who were struggling got some kind of help. And next, there was the one thing that we tried to do. So there was a challenge in the ration kit distribution also. We worked with a couple of NGO also. So a lot of people who are basically they have a capability, or they are not in struggling condition or terrible situation, but still they go and say, okay, there is 500 1,000 rupees ration kits somebody is distributing, so let's take it. So it was really difficult to deny or to figure it out whether they are really in the need of that or not. So that's where I think a lot of challenge it still is going on, and couple of people started to stock those things. So we tried, okay, we'll have a figure it out to who really need is, and created a, let's say somebody calls from a group of auto driver group. So I thought, okay, you create a group or the list of the people who need it, and then we have a volunteer in that. In fact, I made him as a volunteer also. So he figured it out who exactly needed it. Then we tried to work with the different NGO. One is like PFP, People for Passion, and then there is this Being Social, and so these guys has helped them in some bit. Next was that a couple of slums area in Chinappanhalli, so just a few are next to my apartment society also. So they were struggling on the food part also. Then I called this HAL police station. In fact, they were very responsive. They came immediately within a couple of hours with the food packet. Somehow, I think they got it from the Besri Apartment Society. They have donated it and they distributed. So I called him twice, 2 days, and after that, they are regularly coming. HAL police station regularly coming and giving food packets to these slums areas people. Twice in a day, morning around 12 o'clock, meaning afternoon around 12 o'clock they come, and evening around 6:30 or 7 o'clock they come and distribute it. Then there is another group called DASOHA, the SOHA, that is Karnataka helpline number that people have given, 155214. So you call them, and basically what they do, you give your requirement and place, meaning location where you need the food, and let's say you say that there is an area where probably 50 people need a food, so they will deliver the food packet to those location. You have to distribute it basically. So a couple of people, I just connected them and made them that, okay guys, in case you find any issues in this area, you basically call this number, get the food, and you have to volunteer for distribution work. So two other initiative that we have started was that with the IT companies, requesting them to basically donate the food packets to BBMP and police guys, who can in order they can distribute it to the needy people. So basically, I posted in LinkedIn and other social media also. Got few response from the couple of companies who in fact say that, okay, we will ask our vendors and they will create the food packet, and basically then I can connect them with their corresponding police station or BNP DC, and they will basically distribute it to the people who are in the need. So a couple of companies has came forward and they have said that probably next week they will do, but few also basically said there is a challenge that their vendor's kitchen is closed and they probably will not able to help in this, and in case we are able to figure it out, some community kitchen where they can contribute financially, and they in those cases they are ready for that. Another aspect in the same line, we are working at apartment communities to provide the food packet for the neighboring society or neighboring slums area, or poor people, are meaning somebody who is not able to fulfill their need. So in that process, we started with our apartment where we said, okay, we will arrange the packaging part of this, put it as security gate. So people who can volunteer them, apartment members, they can go take the packets and make some kind of biryani or any kind of rice item or any food item they are comfortable with, pack it properly and give it to the society security gate. And then again, we call the same the BBMP and our police guys who can come and take it and distribute it to. So these were few of things. I think most of you guys have been doing much more things than what is my little participation in this whole process.
Hey, thank you, Anjani. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Tahira, before coming to you, can I ask all of us to do a little bit of that world famous exercise that we did once? If you can all switch on the video cameras, we can look at each other and do a little bit of stretching exercise. And while you're doing that, I'll request you to take a minute to go to Namma BNP's Twitter feed. We have wished all our friends around the world and in Bangalore a very happy Easter. I'd appreciate if you can take a minute to like and retweet that. In the meanwhile, let's continue looking at where are the smiling faces. I'm only looking at myself. Okay. Anjani is really stretching his jaw muscles.
Are you able to see me?
I had to set something. Yeah, I don't see you, Subbu. No, I can hear
I have
you.
to say share or what? No?
Yeah, that's.
Hi all.
Are you able to see?
Hi.
Hello,
Able to see me?
am I visible?
I had to on that. I had trouble sharing too. On that video button, camera button, I had to right click and say share my webcam.
You have to
Am
share.
I
Yes.
I'm not able to do that.
visible?
Okay. Okay.
Badri, am I visible?
Hi,
Yes,
hi.
well, very much, very much.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's busy smiling, but if you also can do multitasking and go and like our Twitter tweet for today. I'm seeing that Soumya is very smiling at me because I'm asking you to do this on social media. Thank you, Soumya. Okay. Thanks all. Now over to you, Tahira. Thank you, and we can.
Thanks, Badri.
We can stay on with the camera till it gets heavy, and then we'll get off because it becomes difficult later. Okay.
I'll go off the camera just to make sure I'm audible.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Badri. Thanks, Anjani. And thank you, Lakshmi. That was like a needed session for me for sure. Going crazy with a 5-year-old at my place. Am I audible?
Yes, Tahira. Yes.
Yes, very clear.
Yeah. So
Very clear.
Yeah, I've had, we have a very great neighborhood that we live in. It was humbling to see the way everyone came over, say, hey, listen, we are struggling, we are settled now. We figured out how to get our veggies inside, how to get our groceries inside our apartment. What about the hutments and the slums that we are surrounded by? What is happening to their food? So one person just said on the WhatsApp group, let's pull in and provide to them. And the entire community jumped in. Within half a day, we collected a substantial amount, made sure the neighboring, we have a small grocery shop in front of us. We gave him the money, made kits, gave him coupons. We distributed the coupons in the huts. And we said, go with the coupon, you will be provided with food. Things were settled. It was going very smoothly. But one thing that kept bothering me was, this is okay for now. What about future? We may not be able to provide it for long. At some point, I may lose my job. I may not be in a situation to spare a little extra buck for that house in my vicinity. What do we do for them? I used to call every possible number that I came on WhatsApp, on media, BBMP providing food, and call that number. Oh, it's not valid. There was one number which was literally, I tried that number for nearly 5 hours. It was continuously busy. I WhatsApp the number, the message is read, but I don't have a response. So these were probably the teething troubles the BBMP had. And they, if they wouldn't have had this teething trouble, had we, learned from our experience. Recently, Karnataka went through severe floods in north of Karnataka. I'm sure they had a plan of what to do in situation of crisis. This is a different kind of crisis, no doubt about it, but we have handled crisis in some part of our region, in the country. When a situation arises, what do we do? Government or BBMP, the corporations should have a plan how to reach out to the needy ones. How do we give food to them because they have to survive? If not, they are going to die. They may commit suicide. A father may feel, I'm not able to provide for my child. What do I do? Doesn't have a choice. May take a fatal step further. Not fair. So government has to have a kick-in procedure. The minute a situation arises, we say, here is it, take this plan, go ahead, do it. That when we come into power, that has to be one of our key things. When there is a situation, crisis management has to be a major plan that has to kick in, especially for the lower strata people. That's one thing. Apart from that, I had a very, important task to do. By the time BBMP kicked in, everything came in. My mates got food from ration card. My other people around here whoever had the BPL card, got their food from the ration shops, 40 kilos of rice, 40 kilos of wheat, bele sikto, everything was done perfectly. But what about the migrants? What about these people who come in for labor, who come in from Bihar, UP, even, Bidar, Gulbarga? They have their ration cards back home, but they don't have a ration card here. So the next thing what we did was chase the BBMP, made sure we got all these hutments enrolled for that list. So Friday, we spent nearly 4 hours sitting into all these hutments and making sure the BBMP people sat with them. I was overwhelmed with the kind of response I had. I called some number, I've been dialing all the numbers. Finally, someone gave me a number of a assistant regional officer in BBMP. And that lady says, Madam, I'm not from your area. Let me give you the concerned person looking into your area. That lady, within 10 minutes, she says, give me 10 minutes, I'll get someone to call you back. It was 5 minutes. The senior tax inspector calls me and says, I believe you have a situation. How can I help you? And I said, this is the whole thing. There are many hutmen. There are about 200 huts around my place, and we want them to be streamlined, regularized. The day I stop feeding them food, they shouldn't be on the state of, I don't have anything to eat. Next morning at 7 o'clock, these people were near the hut. They call me and say, we are distributing milk. Can you come over and tell me which exactly are your areas of concern? Let us enroll them right now. They sat down for 4 hours. They said half an hour, just give us some time. There is in the Indira canteen near our place. They had their meal in Indira canteen, breakfast in 10-15 minutes, came back and continued the work till probably 12 or 12:30 in the afternoon, covered the entire locality. So these are things probably they shouldn't be as a situation of crisis that we handle. We should have. These are people. These are regular people who stay in our city. We cannot survive without them. Without a construction worker, without a labor around us, we cannot survive. So why don't we regularize? They might be from any part of our country, but they belong to us. We need to have a systematic enrolling of them, accepting them in our system. I think that should be one of our key things we focus on when we look at it. That's important. Apart from, of course, we have done it's humbling to see how every individual has come forward. Even today I see people coming in car and distributing food. All of us are doing our bit, but why wait for an individual? What if that car doesn't come? Is that house going hungry today? Why shouldn't we centralize this and be more systematic? That is what has been my take from this whole situation I'm dealing with for the last 15 to 20 days.
Thank you.
That's that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Tahira, ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ನಡುವೆ ನಿಮ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಮೇಡಮ್. ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕನ್ನಡ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬೇಕು.
I'm not sure how many understand. That's the reason I kind of switched to English.
Subbuya,
Yes.
what Tahira said is very important. Maybe from a BNP we can send in formal requests or suggestions to BBMP or the minister in charge on this subject.
Oh, great suggestion, Subbu. Khandita, Shrikant, we should
definitely highlight this. We should highlight this what I feel as what
Hello.
all the BBMP can do.
Hello.
So some kind of awareness about this organization.
Yeah, Lali. Next, please.
Yeah, Badri. Yeah, regarding what Tahira was telling about, the BBMP is not able to. I mean, nobody's lifting the phone from BBMP side, whichever phone number they had circulated regarding ration. So the same experience I also had. But what I heard is this particular lady who was supposed to be in charge of Berantur has not got the pass to travel around.
Okay.
So tomorrow I'll be speaking to her, and I'll try to find out what exactly is the problem. If it is the question of pass, then I'll speak to the police. So that is what I'm trying to do tomorrow.
Lali, is this a person from BBMP?
BBMP, yes, Belandur. Her name is.
Okay, so what I understand from the BBMP people is they don't need their pass. They all have their ID cards, and that's enough for them to move around the city because they are the people who have come in to hold on to the system, hold up the system, not hold on to the system. I'm sorry, loss of words. Hold up the system, so they don't need a pass. That might be a reason they don't want to come in and do their bit. But mostly everybody that I saw, and I asked two of them specifically, do you have a pass? How do I get? Because I don't have one. They said, Nimgenu madala ivattu, don't worry. But I suggest you take a pass. We don't need it because we have our ID cards. We have the government BBMP ID cards, which they were all hanging with a blue satin tape, which read BBMP, the whole thing in Kannada. And those IDs are enough for them to move around the city freely.
Yeah, but what I heard from this lady is she's a volunteer, not from BBMP.
Okay.
So this is why I wanted to find out what exactly is happening. So anyway, I'll sort it out tomorrow. Whether she's from BBMP or from a volunteer side, I'll speak to them. I'll try and see whether we can sort it out.
Another
Thank you,
piece of
Lali.
advice I got from them was don't apply for it now. Your pass is anyway your lockdown is going to extend from 14th. So if you apply somewhere around 14th, you will get it from 15th till the end of the new lockdown time. So wait
Okay,
for
okay.
14th and then do it. It's going to have a longer validity.
Yeah, okay, okay. Oh, I'll do that then. Anyway, I'll find out what the reason was. Thank you, Tahira.
Yeah. Thank you, Lali. Thank you, Tahira. I think what it reiterates is that as BNPians, we are trying to find, while we're doing the immediate task, we are also trying to find that larger solution and trying to get people who must be doing their bit for society to also chip in and do that. So thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for joining the call, and to the speakers, thank you very much. You kept us engrossed. Have a nice evening. Have a great day. We meet
Thanks,
next
Rodri.
week's call again. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.